Hello everyone, this is Lexicon Architect, and for today's commander, we're going to be looking at the Dalek Emperor, a 7-mana Rakdos creature that has affinity for Daleks. So this spell is going to cost 1 less to cast for each Dalek you control. Other Daleks you control have haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, each opponent faces a villainous choice. They either sacrifice a creature they control, or you create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace. So let's say they decide that they're not going to sack any creatures. You have 3 opponents, you're going to make 3 Daleks that are going to be able to attack the turn they came in, and they have menace as well, meaning that they can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures. So at mana value 1, we have Disciple of the Vault. That basically says whenever an artifact is put into graveyard from the battlefield, you may have target opponent lose 1 life. Then we have Doomsday Confluence, an XX black spell. Choose X. You may choose the same mode more than once. Either each player sacrifices a non-artifact creature, you create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace, or each opponent discards a card. So the cool thing about it is, if we do have the extra mana late game, we can choose the last mode, and we can force our opponents to dump their entire hands. At mana value 2, we have Cyberman Patrol. Artifact creatures you control have a flick 3, so if they do become blocked, they're going to lose 3 life for each artifact creature that they blocked. Next, we have Deadly Dispute to allow us to sacrifice an artifact or creature, most likely one of our Daleks, to draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. Then we have Impact Tremors that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then we have Metallic Mimic. As the ETBs, we choose a creature type. When we're going to choose Dalek, it is a Dalek, and then each other creature control of the chosen type that enters the battlefield that shares a type with it comes in with an additional 1/1 counter. And then we have Reckless Fireweaver that says whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it's going to deal 1 damage to each opponent. And then lastly, we have Steel Overseer, a 2-mana artifact creature construct that says you tap it to put a 1/1 counter on each artifact creature you control. At mana value 3, we have Adaptive Automaton. As the ETBs, we choose a creature type. It is that creature type. And then creatures you control, the other creatures you control of the chosen type, get +1/+1. Then we have Morbid Opportunist, which will trigger on our opponent's turn as well, because it says whenever 1 or more creatures die, draw a card, and this ability only triggers once each turn. Then we have Professional Facebreaker, a 3-mana with menace that says whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure, and then you can sacrifice a treasure to exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card this turn. Lastly, I want to talk about Sonorous Howlbonder, a 3-mana spell with menace that says each creature you control with menace can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. So let's say we attack with a Dalek, it has menace. The only way for it to be blocked, they're going to have to block with 3 creatures for that 1 creature. At mana value 4, we're going to look at Crypto Thrall. It's an artifact creature that says other artifact creatures you control have hexproof. Next, we have Damnation as a reset button for us, a board wipe. For 4 mana, we can destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Next, we have Masswood Nexus. So creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control, and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. And then for 3 mana, we can tap this to make a 2/2 blue Shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. It is every creature type. Then we're going to talk about Mirkwood Bats. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. Next, we have Perforos, God of the Forge. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, it isn't a creature. And then, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage to each opponent. And then for 3 mana, creatures you control get +1/+0 until the end of the turn. And the last card I want to go over is Skemfar Shadow Mage, 4 mana Elf Cleric that says when an ETB, you can get to choose 1. Each opponent loses X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common, or you can gain X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. At mana value 5, we have Vanquisher's Banner. As an ETBs, you choose a creature type, which would be Dalek. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1, and then whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you get to draw a card. Mana value 6, we have Marionette Master, 6 mana spell with Fabricate 3. So when this creature enters the battlefield, you can put 3 1/1 counters on it, or create 3 1/1 colorless server artifact creature tokens. And then when an artifact you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette's power. Then we're going to talk about Wound Reflection. At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the amount of life that they lost this turn. Damage count causes loss of life. So since it says at the beginning of each end step, this does affect our opponent's board state as well. So if they're attacking other players and not you, they're going to, let's say for example, they deal 10 damage to another opponent. That opponent is going to lose another 10 life at the beginning of the end step. At mana value 7, we have Kindred Dominance. It's a word wipe, choose a creature type, and then destroy all creatures that are of the chosen type. And lastly, at mana value 9, we have Blasphemous Act. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, and it's going to deal 13 damage to each creature. As far as lands go, we have Castle Lockwayne to help us draw cards. We have Bojuka Bog to blow up someone's graveyard. We have Inventor's Fair to gain us 1 life, or we can sack it to search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. You can only activate this ability if you control 3 or more artifacts. Then we have Mount Doom. We can pay 3 mana to tap it to deal 1 damage to each opponent, and if we want to, we can pay 7, sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact, choose up to 2 creatures, and then destroy the rest, and only activate as a sorcery. And then lastly, we have Path of Ancestry. It comes into the battlefield tap, but it has 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And then when that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you get to scry 1. So that's the deck. It's going to cost you $270. If you enjoyed this deck tech, please subscribe to my channel. My link is in the bio, and it also is going to be in the bottom right of the screen for my icon. And all you have to do is click it, and you're subscribed to my channel. You have a good day.